All right, Marfoogle TV going live in 3.
Talk about it Monday, Marfoogle TV, Monday through Friday. Coming on the low and then leave on the high day. Whether it be a rain on a Sunday, rain on a Monday. We'll talk about it Monday.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We're going to get right into the news. We actually are going to have a very short and concise show today, so let's get right into it. Venezuela's Maduro, fearing U.S. attack, promotes an app to report suspect behavior. Now, this is the same app that they actually used to report outages, and when the power was going out in Venezuela, in fact, had their entire country go out, they had all sorts of infrastructure problems. Back then, we reported all of these, and we almost thought that CIA was involved. In fact, the U.S. and Venezuela, over the past few years before they really became in the spotlight, the U.S. was doing all sorts of weird stuff down there. Venezuela claimed that they had caught certain people years ago. If you remember when their entire country went down, they, I believe, accused 2 people in the U.S. or that were Florida connected or whatever it was. It's always a Florida man. And I could be wrong on that one, but I do know that 2 U.S. people were involved in that or suspected of that, all right? So fast forward, this app is now being used to report anything suspicious. What they are worried about is CIA or any kind of agents or special forces that are already in Venezuela that are pulling some sort of op. And now they're going to report it through their version of Grindr or whatever the heck it's called, Ven app. So we're going to talk about this and much, much more on Marfoogle TV. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Dum 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 dum.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We got a lot more to go over, so let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So let's talk about strapping jets to bombs.
I'm just like envisioning Wile E. Coyote and some duct tape here. But apparently Russia is taking old Soviet-era dumb bombs and adding jet engines to them to give them a greater range. They can now go about 200 kilometers in distance, and this is giving them the ability to launch them from aircraft further away from the front line. So novel use of old technology and marrying it with new technology, but basically they're retrofitting Soviet-era bombs known as the CABs, and they have hit targets in southern Ukraine regions of Odessa and Mykolaiv, as well as eastern region of Poltava, for the first time in October. And up until then, the guided projectiles lobbed from the Russian Su-34 jets only had a range of about 80 kilometers. And they were used mainly in the proximity of the front lines. So now these are going up to 200 kilometers by retrofitting them with jet engines, or strapping a jet engine on that bad boy and wrapping some duct tape around it. Not really, but sounds like it.
Yeah, that's exactly what the image we get when we think of something like that. And then we have Russia's new weapon could devastate coasts and support moon missions. So this is something talking about Poseidon and other weapons that they've been talking about. Now, they say that they tested the Poseidon, or the U.S. announced that they believe Russia tested this Poseidon, and Russia essentially said that they tested the delivery systems. The big deal here is that our president just told us that other countries are quietly but loudly testing nuclear weapons. That they're not just testing the delivery systems, but they're actually testing the actual detonation of weapons. At least that's what people are pulling off of his comments on 60 Minutes, the show where he went on and talked about a lot of things, right? But they say that Russian Vladimir Putin on Tuesday praised some of Russia's newest weapons, describing them as faster and more effective, capable of ensuring security and strategic parity, and even of use in rare metals extractions and lunar missions, right? They're talking about the moon again. Putin extolled the qualities of the Burevestnik cruise missile and the Poseidon super torpedo at a ceremony honoring the experts who helped build the weapons. It says, the result you have achieved has, with no exaggeration, historic significance for our people, for ensuring security and strategic parity for decades to come. And we can boldly say for the entire 21st century. So he's literally saying for the next 75 years that this thing is going to put them on the spot. It's going to put them on the Hollywood star of bombs. So, with all of the different talk about the new weapons, the one thing that we focus on is not being afraid of him using them. More so, it's the messaging that they're putting out to the people. They continually talk about nuclear this, nuclear that. Are we going to see a tactical nuclear weapon used to start a war or to even, Fantastic Freddy ourselves right into Third World War? That's right. What most of us are worried about.
Yeah. Well, and then the other side of this is, what if he takes this technology, as what he's describing, is saying, hey, we can use it besides using it in weapons and use it to propel ourselves into space and beyond. So take it to the moon. Having nuclear, a miniature nuclear reactor that can create, thrust power indefinitely can potentially achieve something that they haven't been able to do very easily without having just a whole ton of rocket fuel on storage.
Well, I mean, this just sounds like a Wile E. Coyote disaster too, but think about this. If they teamed up with Elon, if they had rockets that could re-land, think about that. It would be an unlimited, flight. You had a nuclear engine that would be rocketing it up to the moon and back, but they could also, land on the planets. It's pretty crazy to think about if that ever comes true. I know most of you are like, rolling your eyes saying, yeah, right. Just like you should, because, that whole first moon mission was such an awesome success. And all of the other ones that they did, but yet now we still can't figure it out. All right, and then back to one of our best affiliates that we have. If you haven't already, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is our suggestion as far as if you want to protect yourself against not only an EMP strike, but also a CME from the sun. This is a quick device that you can put right into your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, generator, pretty much anything you want to protect. You want to get an EMP shield on. It's going to ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second. This is not a surge protector you can get at the store. This is the same company that is working with DHS, Department of Homeland Security, DOW, Department of War, FBI, Air Force. So this is not something you can just grab in the store. This is something you get directly from EMP Shield at marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that code MARF will get $50 off per device. And again, not only help us, but protect yourself at the same time as supporting independent media. Again, this is a very simple device to put in. Takes less than 10 minutes to put into your car, and then you're done, and you don't have to worry about getting home or not, or getting out. All right, Dex, let's talk about Russia nuclear weapons tests on the horizon after new Putin order.
Well, yeah, so the Russian Defense Ministry, Andrei Belousov, has said it is appropriate to immediately prepare for a full-scale nuclear test at the country's Novaya Zemlya site, which is that archipelago islands way up in the north there. You can see back on the map. The readiness of the forces and facilities at the central test site on the islands there make it possible to carry them out within a short time frame, he said. And Putin gave the order for ministries and officials to gather information and submit proposals to him on starting to work to prepare for nuclear weapons testing. So they are getting riled up and ready to roll because they're basically saying, hey, if you're going to blame us for doing it, then we're going to do it. Or more so, they said, if you're going to do it, we're going to do it. Because Trump says we're going to start doing it because he's blaming China and Russia for doing it covertly.
Yeah, Trump essentially said that they are not only testing the delivery systems, but testing detonations. And that makes you question events like when we had that huge 7, plus earthquake off of the Kamchatka. And of course, there was a tsunami warning for that. Was that a test of the Poseidon? We don't know. But one thing we do know is this is the messaging. So again, preppers are going to prep. Preppers prep. Play is play. All right, and then the unusual new German brigade deploying to NATO's edge is bringing its most advanced lethal armor and the Leopard 2A8 tank. Now, this is something where this is the first permanent deployment of German brigade like this right on Russia's border. So, Dex, do you want to talk about why this is a big deal and why everybody's paying attention right now in Europe and in Germany?
Yeah, the new German brigade station on Russia's doorstep is betting on tanks, and even as costly armored vehicles are being damaged and destroyed by cheap off-the-shelf drones. So kind of a bad choice if you think about it. See how ineffective tanks have been over in Ukraine. But NATO allies worried about Russia are still investing in the tanks, and Germany is no exception. Its new 45th Armored Brigade that is in Lithuania. Remember, this is the first deployment of German soldiers outside of Germany. They're now in Lithuania, and they are bringing the tanks to the border. So they have the permanent deployment of the brigade. It's the first one since World War II, and it's all bringing its Leopard 2A8 tanks with it. The commander of the brigade, Brigadier General Christoph Hubert, said that the brigade has top priority in Germany and will see the most modern German military equipment there. So I'm curious to see how they hold up against the drones, because every other tank that's been in the current battlefield in Ukraine hasn't been,
maybe these are the only ones that can. These are really, really, the steel on the Leopards are really, really thick, but I just, I wonder what comes next, right? What are they expecting? And of course, everybody is talking about the first since World War II. Pete Hegseth, which in fact, I'll bring this in right now. This was added in last second, so let me make sure that I have this right. Pete Hegseth actually has talked about moving troops, and this reminded us of about a week ago when we saw this. So let me open this up. I'm going to pull this up. Let's see here. Let me go like this. All right. So Hegseth at the DMZ, U.S. troops in South Korea are flexible but focused on North Korea. So there's a few statements here. Basically what he has said is that, hey, we're still focused on protecting South Korea against North Korea. North Korea is a nuclear armed menace, essentially, to them. But he's saying that we're flexible and we may want to move some of these. Some of these troops may need to move to handle China and Taiwan, right? So if you remember, there was a massive move of troops. And Dex, I'm trying to remember the very specific one that we were talking about where they were moving troops. And we said, this might just possibly be because they need them somewhere else. They reduced half of the troops in a European place. And somebody was complaining. Was that Lithuania or
It was Romania. And
Romania.
And it's funny because the Mark Rutte went down there today and said, hey, you don't need to really be making hay about this. It's not that big of a deal, because it seemed like everybody was making negative press about removing 500 troops from Romania when there's over 100,000 troops spread across NATO. So,
and here's the thing, the under the layer messaging here is that they need stuff out in the ocean by Taiwan right now. I'll show you that here in a second with another story that is popping up today. But they basically want to be on call for Taiwan. They say there's no troops there, but if you remember, one of the congressmen accidentally blurted out, they're like, we have 30,000 troops here, 25,000 here. And he accidentally blurted out that we already have troops in South Korea. That was not confirmed, in Taiwan. That was not confirmed, and he ended up taking it back and retracting it. But many of us, including myself, think that there are troops in Taiwan already. It makes sense, right? But they are talking about backing this up. Now, all of the moves of these troops, they're grabbing them from here, grabbing them from there, grabbing them from there. Now, 4 different places they've reduced troops, and this is the first time they've mentioned in the last week and a half where they might actually be going. Think about that. They are preparing for China. They're preparing for the China-Taiwan conflict right now. They're pulling possible flexible troops from South Korea, where it may not be the top priority, to where, think about that. If China is taking more of a precedent than North Korea, think about what the time frame on that might be. So just thought that was really interesting. They're basically saying, like, we might not even do it, but they're asking, they're already telling us that those troops may be stationed and used in other regional conflicts, specifically mentioning China. So what the heck is going on? And then a U.S. company making long-range drone warships for China, for a China fight, just put its tech test to the water. So, Dex, this is really interesting because they are trying to make these full-size autonomous warships, right? They plan to have a prototype, a prototype by next year. And one thing that they are talking about too is how much the U.S. is about to invest in an autonomous unmanned crewed navy, right? And this is all about to happen very, very fast. And it's all for China. What did you think about this when you saw it?
First off, I feel like we're late to the game because China's got this already. And then second off, when you go down to that picture, it says with the caption underneath it says Blue Water Anatomy Test Vessel near Massachusetts
Crazy
Bay.
looking.
I mean, that's it. Like that's what we're supposed to be excited about. It looks like, a barge with, some computers and boxes on top that they're just driving around. Like, okay, where's the stealth framing and other stuff that would think would be on some sort of, badass looking autonomous naval ship. I get it. They're not going to build a full scale version, right, for testing, but still, it just feels a little weird.
They're making the guts, right? And what's crazy is they even did it in containers like this. Think about this. They could make this simple of a thing. This isn't the final product. They're trying to have a prototype by next year. This is the guts to see if they can have it out in the middle of the ocean and to make sure it doesn't go, as they quote, dead in the water in the middle of the ocean, right? But this platform right here, this thing itself, I'm sure gave them ideas like, we could put K-Club container weapons out on a platform and have them basically sitting out there with its own generators, solar panels, and then have this thing ready to respond and have it floating out in the middle of the ocean. I just thought about that too. But this thing is the test, and you're looking at China's, like you just said, they've got the full stealth freaking autonomous carrier. They have an autonomous amphibious ship now, and they have an autonomous aircraft that is possibly going to be also essentially releasing other aircraft. So, yeah, this doesn't look great. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. All right. And then thank you for everybody that has popped into chat. Thank you so much for your, of course, all of our awesome mods. Jammer, Ilea is in the house tonight. Bobby Sue, thank you. Stephen McMahon, FedXer. We've got WIS Jen. We have MJ, JPass, Kathy Paina, Dr. Huru, Julius. Thank you. Freedom Nugget. Thank you. Randy Man, of course. And you just reminded me I miss Randy Man Nacho Sandwich. All right. And then Living Off Grid, Amanda Evanson, Drops Homestead. Nice to see you. And of course, Jonathan, thank you guys for popping in. And then this is a quick video. A man, like straight out of like every single bar in every single place in the planet, ended up groping the female Mexican president. Now, this guy basically whispers and like tries to kiss her, and you can tell he's just like visually super, super drunk. He goes up and puts his hand around her shoulder, goes up to her neck. It's really, really quite creepy. If this was any of your mother or sisters, you would probably knock the guy out. Surprisingly, I don't even think she knew kind of what was going on until after, because she was even like, oh, it's okay, kind of put his hand on his shoulder like, he's just drunk or something. That's at least what I thought it looked like. I'm surprised that this guy did not get taken out. Like, obviously, there is a big difference, Dex, between our presidential security and their presidential security.
You think? I mean, that picture right there tells it all. Dude's got his arms under hers, around her chest. I mean, yeah, that's getting really personal. I get it. The guy's drunk, not an excuse, but maybe an understanding for why somebody would do something so crass and crazy to a president. But the fact that he got that close, yeah, that's should tell you one thing about their security detail.
Yeah, this is, if he had a weapon right there, he could have just taken her. Even if he didn't have a weapon, you have to realize, like, some of these guys don't care if they get caught. He could have snapped her neck or something. Like, it's crazy that, but of course, I'm sure that she's got the vibe like, oh, I'm just going to walk around town. I don't need security. I'm a woman of the people. But still, this gives you an example of why they really can't do that, right? But it is the Mexican president. The only thing I couldn't stop thinking when she was turned sideways, though, is her hair and the Economist cover when they showed her in Mystery Blackout, and they showed that if you guys have been following the Economist covers for the last couple of years, before she ended up getting the position, they showed her exact outline. I mean, it was her. They did basically a silhouette of her on the Economist before she got put into position, and it was talking about the future. It was just weird. But she's always got the signature ponytail there. I couldn't stop thinking about it because that silhouette is so exactly shaped to her, and they never really clarified if it was her or not. But I mean, it's obvious. All right, and then before we move on, make sure to go check out Energy if you haven't already. This is our recommendation for a solar generator. It's one of the best on the market. It's steel reinforced. This is the same generator that's heading out to the U.S. Army. It won the SBR Phase 2 contract. Again, go over to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Again, that will get you a huge discount and get yourself prepped up at the same time. During a storm, you can pop this on and keep going. At work, you can charge your tools or bring it with you for power or, trade shows, whatever it may be. These come in extreme handy. They are silent, which also means you can be a gray man. You might have, I've got a big generator out back. Well, that big generator that is going is not going to be the funnest thing to have when you have desperate neighbors trying to steal everything you have. This is silent. No one's going to hear it. You can be the gray man. All right. It's good to have both kind of generators, gas and solar. But again, you can charge this from the wall or from solar, but it's silent. That's the cool part. All right. And then Nvidia, Jensen Huang says China will win AI race with the U.S. I wonder if he's got any bias there, but that's a crazy comment. Dex, do you want to go over?
Well, yeah, I think, his bias should be to America winning it, obviously. And, he's saying that China is going to win, in his opinion, if we don't change things. So as he said, as I have long said, China is nanoseconds behind America in AI. This is coming from Jensen Huang, the Nvidia CEO here in America. It's vital that America wins by racing ahead and winning developers worldwide, he added. The artificial intelligence chip leaders chief back in October said that the U.S. can win the AI battle in the world, including China's massive developer base, if it runs on Nvidia systems. Which would be self-serving for him, obviously. He, however, lamented the Chinese government has shut it out of its market. So basically, the fact that they're shutting Nvidia out, so China has access to advanced AI chips, particularly those produced by Nvidia, the world's most valuable company by market capitalization, remains a flashpoint in its tech rivalry with the United States as both nations vie for supremacy. So how does that necessarily mean they're going to win? Because they don't have access to the chips that he says they would need to win, or they're not using them. And I think part of it is maybe that he's suspecting that they're going to use their resources and technology to advance chips beyond where we are, as opposed to just leverage the chips that we've developed. That's the only thing I can come up with here. Other than that, I don't disagree with the fact that they're just literally behind us. This race is not one where there's leaps and bounds happening at the moment.
So, I wonder if this has anything to do with just recently, AMD just made an announcement that pissed off a lot of gamers. Specifically, the gaming community was really mad about this. AMD basically said that their 4-year-old chip that they were going to stop updating, that they were, going to stop doing updates on. And people are like, what are you talking about? Basically, AMD had all of this drama. And after this drama, everybody that was stuck with the AMD chips was super pissed because they're like, hey, we saw you through all of the drama, all of these different bad things. And then you go and tell us, like, after 4 years, you're going to cut support to these chips. And the reason why this is important, so if you go and get this super expensive, chip or chip from company, and then in 3 or 4 years, it's got a shelf life where they force you to update or to upgrade or get the new one, that's going to piss a lot of people off. 4 years was kind of a short lifespan as their opinion went. But it actually drove, what I heard is it drove Nvidia stock up, and it really screwed AMD, and a lot of people are like, really worried about where AMD is going to go from there and where that precedent might set it for other chips. I mean, Dex, do you think it's crazy that they might cut support for chips after only 3 or 4 years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would expect things to have a longer shelf life than that. It's interesting because getting back to Nvidia's position, he's talking about needing to win the developers from China on his platform. So in other words, the fact that Chinese developers are not developing AI on Nvidia chips means Nvidia will not be able to advance fast enough, because obviously they won't get sales, but obviously they won't get that feedback and or what is needed to make the chip better for the next generation of these developers, right? Because they're not going to be using their chips. So, and the majority of the developers, or a large chunk of AI developers, are in China, much larger probably so than in America. So I guess that is probably the real point. But I think the struggle there is, do we want to just give them the ability to win, and the only win we get is in chips, not in AI tech. So I think it's a very self-serving position he's taking, which I would expect him to do. He's the CEO of his company. He wants to sell more chips.
And we've already heard from many that we are actually behind in many areas, that he's kind of giving this a glass half full if you have Nvidia in the picture, and glass half empty that's already empty, right? So, and then Interstellar Object 3i Atlas has changed color again and shows sign of non-gravitational acceleration. I'll refer you guys over to the Marfoogle news video for most of this, but essentially this thing has sped up, which is now the second interstellar object to actually do so. So after, Oumuamua went by Earth, it ended up speeding up, and it went and left our interstellar neighborhood, right? Well, that was super weird. Everybody said, oh, that's for sure going to be some sort of alien. This one came around since the beginning. Avi Loeb has talked about this being a potential alien. And it is kind of crazy because he called it in the very first steps. And then all of a sudden you have all of these weird things as if they do know it's something, right? But they say that it has changed color again, turned to blue. And some scientists have a scientific basic explanation or a theory on why this is doing it. But some think that this is seriously something that's either man-made or a UFO or something, because this just doesn't make sense. It should have slingshotted and had a certain speed, and it didn't hit that. It ended up having a different speed acceleration going around the sun. So now they're thinking this doesn't make any sense at all. It's nothing we have in our books. So what do you guys think? Again, it's changed color again. Now it is a bright blue, and it is speeding up. What the hell is going to happen next? Are we going to see it turn on a dime or something? That would be freaky. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, Robert Nelson. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for supporting Independent. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mike Osetta, Michael, Space Troll, and everybody else that made it into the show. Make sure to also go check out Jace if you want to get antibiotics in a kit right to your door. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. All right, you guys, we are going to do a short shoutro tonight for Robert Nelson. I am going to be meeting somebody after the show, so I appreciate everybody hopping over to the shoutro. Thank you so much, Dex. I appreciate your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's update. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Thank you, Robert Nelson. You are a top supporter tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Dum 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 dum. Leave on a high day, whether it be a rain on a Sunday, raid on a Hyundai. We'll talk about it Monday. Marfoogle TV, Monday through Friday, coming on the low and then leave on a high day, whether it be a rain on a Sunday, raid on a Hyundai. We'll talk about it Monday. Marfoogle TV, Monday through Friday, coming on the low and then leave on the high. Dum dum dum.